Okay, well, first of all, just tell us, how do you ordinarily celebrate Thanksgiving?
Ordinarily, my mom does like the turkey, so we have a big dinner and all of the family comes over. So my brother and his family, my sister and her family, and us. So it's kind of just our immediate family that does something.
How many people in total?
I think we've been adding, so there's probably about, let's see, about 12 of us, 12 or 13 people, something like that.
Okay. What's your absolute favorite thing to eat on Thanksgiving?
Green bean casserole. I love to eat green bean casserole, which is so funny because I thought it was really hard to make, but it's just like a couple cans of green beans and you put in some cream of mushroom soup and it's just delicious. And people think you work really hard on it, but you don't.
And what's in the glasses on the table?
Mostly water. Mostly water. There was one year my father thought he had like a bottle of wine, but he wasn't wearing his glasses, so he poured us each like a huge glass of vermouth. That was kind of funny.
What's on in the background? Music, television? Is it too noisy to even bother with?
It's mostly the sound of yelling, like children yelling and screaming and running around, so it's busy.
Play any games? Anything that's that you also associate with Thanksgiving?
Any Thanksgiving games? No, we're not really football people. Sometimes we end up mostly just playing with the kids, trying to entertain the kids, but nothing regular.
Is there anything that you're going to have on Thanksgiving that you probably won't have at any other time of the year?
I probably don't eat turkey, like a real turkey every day. So the turkey we have, just, that roast turkey once a year probably, because I'm certainly not making them on my own.
When somebody says to you, I'm going to celebrate Thanksgiving with my family this year, what's like the first image in your head that comes to mind?
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work making a turkey and doing all that. So for some reason I just picture piles of dishes because that's usually how it ends up.
How's the day start and how's the day end?
I've been doing a little 5K for the past couple of years in the morning because I feel like I should work for my meal. And so I usually go and help my mom, and I'll do like the easier stuff, help her with that. And probably we end up eating more towards the evening, just because my brother and my sister's families, they all do things during noontime, so then they come over and have their second meal, or their second dinner of the day.
So you don't have to travel?
I don't have to travel, no.
Yeah. Celebrate Thanksgiving for your household?
Well, often people at work will get Wednesday off, or the afternoon of Wednesday off, and we'll all congregate around a family house of some kind. You might pick a family member, a set of parents if you're married and so forth, and go to that house and perhaps begin cooking the night before. Generally, Thanksgiving is centered around a large meal with many dishes, and so sometimes it helps to start the cooking the night before. Then you get up, you have a bit of breakfast in the morning, you hang out, you might drink some cider and clean the house and so forth. Maybe other relatives will show up later in the day, and usually it's an early dinner. So it might be a 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock dinner that you have. At least in my experience growing up, it was always quite an early dinner. Because you don't want to eat too much in the morning, and you don't want to wait too late to have all this wonderful food that you're eating. And of course there's a big turkey, and the turkey is the centerpiece of the meal and might take as many as 6 hours to cook. Yeah, that's typically how we celebrate it.
What's in the glass at the table, at your table?
What's in the glass?
What are you going to drink?
Wine is commonly drunk, and cider as well. Cider is very common. Maybe sparkling cider.
What's on in the background? Music, television, too noisy to even bother with?
Well, I'm not a big football fan, but from what I understand, there's typically a good deal of football that happens later in the afternoon, after the meal and so forth. But often people are quite sleepy at that point as well.
How many people would you have or are you going to be celebrating with, do you think?
It depends. This year might be a bit smaller, but it could be as few as 4 or as many as 20 people who come to these meals. This year we might have 10.
And is there anything utterly unique to your Thanksgiving that you won't see or have at any other time of the year?
Sure. We make a stuffing. So there's a delicious bread stuffing that is traditionally made that goes into the turkey, and you usually want to make a little side dish of it too because it's quite popular. And we make a stuffing that is a recipe my mother has that she got from her mother and so forth, which is a pumpernickel and cornbread and bacon stuffing, which is just absolutely astonishingly good. And I don't think you'll find that anywhere.
Any particular games or activities that are associated with Thanksgiving at your place?
Yes, traditionally we play a game called Dictionary, which is an interesting game where there is a word that nobody knows. It's played in rounds, and for each round you pick a word out of the dictionary that nobody knows, and everybody writes an invented definition of that word. And and then people read them aloud, and they're voted on. And if people believe that your definition is the correct definition, you get points. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. We've done. All right. All right.
So how do you normally celebrate Thanksgiving?
We generally, like most people, cook a very large meal with at least 5 pies. And because I grew up in a town where there are a lot of apple orchards, we usually do a couple different varieties of apple pie from apples grown in nearby orchards.
What's your favorite thing to eat on Thanksgiving?
Despite being from an apple orchard town, I am a big fan of pumpkin pie. I think that's my favorite.
Anything that you make yourself?
I do make a pretty good stuffing with roasted chestnuts and celery.
How many people will you celebrate with?
This year I think we're celebrating with about 10 people in total. So family, friends, neighbors who don't necessarily have a big family or community with them.
What's on in the background? Television, music, too noisy to even bother with?
Definitely music in the background, at least during the meal. And then it's pretty inevitable that sports come on at some point during the afternoon, much to my mother's dismay, of course.
And what do you like to drink? What's on the table? What's in the glasses?
So I think wine is a pretty standard beverage for Thanksgiving most years. But I think I'm going to experiment with a pumpkin martini this year, bringing together a couple different, good flavors like pumpkin and vanilla. And a friend actually made me some infused vanilla beans, infused with, I think, cognac and orange peel or something. So that might have to make a special appearance in that.
Is there anything that'll be a part of Thanksgiving that you won't have any other time of the year?
So I think given how long it takes to cook a turkey, the massive turkey is probably one food that comes into play on that day and no others throughout the year.
That's good. I think we got it.
All right.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
That wasn't too bad, was it?
All right, well, what do we typically do for Thanksgiving? We usually have a big feast with extended family, probably 30 people come over. We do eat turkeys, and not so much pumpkins, except in the pies, but we'll have a lot of different kinds of squash, which are pumpkin family. We do have some traditions for Thanksgiving. We have to play the Turkey Bowl. The Turkey Bowl is our official family American football game, so irrespective of the weather, we've got to go out and play some American football. And also, there's a little trick tradition that we have. Walnuts. I don't see any walnuts here. They're little round nuts. we'll spend several weeks before Thanksgiving carefully cracking open walnuts so that they stay perfectly even, to remove all the nut meat, and then put little notes in them and pieces of shells to trick people, who will then crack them open on Thanksgiving Day, only to find that the nut has been removed somehow from the inside of the walnut, and we'll just glue them back together and put them right back in the nut bowl. Usually Thanksgiving is a lot of food, but it's also a lot of fun with family and friends, and some games and playing around as well.
What's on in the background? Do you have television on? Do you have music on? Does it not matter because you got a lot of noise?
Well, there's a lot of noise. The television will usually be on with nobody watching it. It could be anything from the leftovers of the Macy's parade. That's a big one. And in fact, sometimes we'll take a trip down to New York City and catch the parade in the morning. But there will be a variety of age ranges of people. There are a lot of kids under 10, and there are a lot of adults between 20 and 40, and then aunts and uncles and grandparents. So probably 4 generations will be there. And it's a good time for everybody to spend together.
What do you drink?
What do we drink? Well, we drink a lot of things. Probably the biggest seller, actually, is apple cider. There will also be a lot of wine. And there will be, now what's that stuff there with the nutmeg in it?
Eggnog.
Eggnog. There will be ceremonial eggnog, but there will be few takers on the eggnog. So it'll mostly be apple cider and wine.
And what's your favorite thing to eat?
My favorite thing to eat is my grandmother's potato pie. Potato pie is made by baking a mixture of mashed white potatoes with 3 different cheeses and pepperoni. And you bake that for about 45 minutes, and it comes out kind of like a shepherd's pie, but more dense and more flavorful, but that's just us.
And what would you say is the one element of Thanksgiving that you'll never see again the rest of the year?
All right.
We gotta say it.
You know what? The one element really that will not be produced any other time of year is the roast turkey.
Yeah.
All the rest of it, the family, the friends, even occasionally the potato pie, will come back again. But the roast turkey, the turkey is a very large turkey. It's usually between 22 and 25 pounds. And it cooks for hours and hours and hours. And it's been selected weeks in advance. And that is the one piece of the Thanksgiving meal that is not reproduced at any other time during the year.